You know that feeling, right? A headache starts to creep in, and you just know it's about to rain. Or maybe an old injury starts to ache, and yep, sure enough, a storm rolls in later that day. Well, today, we're going to dive into that amazing, almost uncanny ability our bodies have to feel weather changes coming.
So can you really? I mean, it sounds a little bit like folklore, doesn't it? The idea that your body is basically a walking, talking weather station? But here's the thing. It's not just some old wives' tale. It is absolutely real.
That's right. This isn't magic, it's pure physiology. Your body is equipped with this incredibly sophisticated set of biological tools, and they're constantly reading the environment. So in this explainer, we're going to break down how things like barometric pressure, humidity, and even the electricity in the air can trigger very, very real physical responses in you.
Okay, let's get into it. The best way to understand this is to think of your body and the atmosphere as dance partners. They're in this constant conversation, always responding to each other's moves, trying to stay in balance.
Think of yourself as a human antenna. You are constantly picking up on these invisible signals, subtle shifts in pressure, moisture, even electrical charge. And your body's job is to translate those signals into physical feelings, all in an effort to adjust to the world outside. And these are the messages that antenna sends you. Do any of these look familiar? Those aching joints, a sudden migraine. Maybe you just feel a little moody or off for no reason. Or that weird dizziness and ear popping. Have you ever felt any of this right before the weather turns? These are all super common ways our bodies react to that atmospheric dance.
So what's the #1 most powerful signal our bodies are tuned into? Well, it all starts with the main driver of weather itself, something called barometric pressure.
So just imagine the air above you, all of it, as this massive, invisible ocean pressing down. Our bodies are totally used to a certain amount of that weight, but when a storm system starts moving in, that pressure, that weight, gets lighter, and your body, well, it definitely notices that drop.
And here's the secret to why your joints start to ache. When that outside pressure falls, there's less force pushing on your body. This allows the tissues and the fluids inside your body to expand just a tiny, tiny bit. Now, for most of us, we wouldn't even notice. But if you've got an old injury or maybe some arthritis, that slight expansion can really irritate those sensitive nerves, and that's when you feel the pain.
And what's so fascinating here is how the exact same trigger, that drop in pressure, can cause completely different problems. So over on the left, you see the joints. Expanding tissues press on nerves, causing aches. But then on the right, you see how that same pressure drop makes blood vessels in your head expand, which can trigger the trigeminal nerve and bring on a monster migraine. Same cause, two different results.
And it's not just your joints and your head. Your inner ear, which is the command center for your balance, is also an incredibly sensitive pressure detector. When that atmospheric pressure shifts, it can mess with the fluid-filled system in your ears, leading to dizziness or that classic ear-popping feeling. You know, just like when you're on an airplane or driving up a mountain.
Okay, so pressure is the big one, but it's not the whole story. Your body is also incredibly tuned in to all these other invisible forces floating around in the air. It's all part of that constant conversation with the environment.
Let's talk about humidity for a second. Your skin is basically a giant moisture sensor. When humidity is high, sweat can't evaporate and you get that heavy, sticky, clammy feeling. But when humidity is low, the air literally pulls moisture right out of you, leaving you with dry skin and that staticky feeling. It's a real-time report on the air's moisture content.
And get this for sensitivity. Your skin's cold receptors are so precise, they can react to a temperature change of less than a single degree. That's why you sometimes get goosebumps or a sudden chill before your brain has even registered, oh, it's getting colder. It's your body's early warning system kicking in. Now we're going to get into one of the more mysterious parts of all this. Have you ever heard someone say they can just feel the energy in the air before a big thunderstorm? Well, turns out that might not be a metaphor at all. It might be literally true. So, right before a storm, the air gets charged up with ions. And the theory is that our bodies still have these ancient, primitive electroreceptors, special cells that can actually detect electrical fields. And this can lead to some really strange sensations, like a tingling on your skin, or even a weird metallic taste in your mouth.
But it's not all invisible forces. Our good old-fashioned senses, smell and sound, play a huge part too. They add more layers of data to create this complete, full-body weather forecast.
Our noses are amazing weather detectors. I mean, we can actually smell ozone, that sharp, clean scent after a lightning strike. Well, it's carried down from higher up right before it rains.
We can also smell that earthy aroma of plants releasing oils into the air, another classic sign a storm is on its way. And our ears get in on the action too. Right before a storm, distant sounds often seem clearer and closer. That's because the warm, moist air actually changes how sound waves travel.
And of course, we don't just sense things directly. For thousands and thousands of years, we've learned to read the signs in the world around us. Seeing birds fly lower to stay out of the high winds, or noticing your dog getting anxious because it can feel that pressure drop long before you can. These are all clues our brains are subconsciously processing. So all of this leads to a really big question. Why? I mean, why do we have all these incredibly complex, built-in weather sensors? Why can you feel a storm coming in your bones?
It's an amazing system for sure, but what was the point? Why would evolution go to all the trouble to select for a trait that, for a lot of us today, just means we get a headache before it rains?
And here's the answer. For our early ancestors, this wasn't about convenience. It was about life and death. Being able to feel a storm coming, or a drought, or a sudden freeze, that meant you could find shelter, protect your food, and ultimately survive. It was an absolutely critical evolutionary advantage.
What's truly incredible when you step back and look at it is that this isn't just one system at work. It's a full-on symphony. Your nerves, your circulation, your senses, your lungs, even your skeleton. They are all working together, integrating countless signals into this one intuitive, subconscious weather forecast.
We have unbelievable technology to predict the weather now. But that leaves us with one final thought. In our world of apps and satellites, are we losing touch with that ancient, intelligent forecast that's happening inside our own bodies? What kind of wisdom are we forgetting to listen to? It's something to think about next time you feel that rain in your bones.